So, Pastor, you are the primary fundraiser for your church. I didn't get that for many years as a pastor. I just thought people gave, tithed, and the church budget grew to the level of the tithe given. But then I learned that most church attendees don't tithe. The average church member who has been coming to your church for many years gives $100 a month to $200 a month, and that's on the high end. And then I learned that as a church begins to grow or wants to grow, you spend more money on ministry, on people, on programs. And you, the pastor, become the chief fundraiser for the vision and mission. So, firstly, let's own that responsibility, grasp it, and begin to learn how to do it well. And owning this is not easy. We weren't trained for this or called for this. We want to preach and teach and pastor, but we need to also fundraise. Whether our model of church in the US is right or even biblical, that's not my debate. We need to fundraise because how you and I do church requires salaries being paid, programs being funded, buildings operating, and all the tech we need to do in the 21st century. On average, as many as 40% of your church attendees are not giving you anything, and only 5% of your congregation tithe on a regular basis. So your church funding is actually relying on a small percentage of people to help fund every program, every staff member, every overhead cost. So how can you change that? The best way I know is communicate it, teach it. Let people know what they have been giving and call them to greater. Not just talk about the tithe, but focus on talking about becoming generous people. So here's some components of an effective giving initiative. Number one, teach a Sunday series about money. It's not doing a give to the church preach once a year. That only creates guilt and negativity. It's handling a topic that the Bible actually has a lot to say about. And you and I need to handle it as well as any other Bible topic. Talk about money's lure, its false God status in the New Testament. Talk about serving God or mammon. But also talk about biblical examples of generous people mirroring a generous God. Beyond teaching a series, and I would suggest you do that series in January or February, talk about and communicate about where the church is at. Not pleading for money, but letting people know where the church finances are at. And if you don't tell them, how do they know? Maybe you send a half-yearly giving statement to every member. Let them see if they're behind or ahead. Break down giving. Show how many people give $50 a month, $100 a month, $500 a month, $1,000. Let them hear and see how the church is funded. Share or have others share positive stories of what a ministry or a program has done in seeing people changed by Christ. Show them how you can take their giving and use it for the gospel. So that's number one. Number two, give the people a practical next step or a first step. In other words, put a target on the wall for them to hit. There are several ways you could practically guide people to a next step in their giving. For years, I used the baseball diamond concept that other churches have used. Imagine a baseball field, the batter's up. They've made it to the batter's box. In church terms, they're giving, they've got there, and they're giving like you would give to a gym or to a Rotary Club. In other words, you pay a basic fee for the service that you get. And this year, Some of your members are at that batter's box and they need to run to first base. And first base is gratitude giving. God has done something in their lives, saved them, forgiven them, changed them, and you will give not just like you pay going to the gym, but you'll now give out of gratitude. Second base. Some of your members this year will run from first base to second base, and second base is spiritual obedience giving, tithing. And then some who are already tithers and they're at second base, they now need to run this year to third base, which is sacrificial giving. Not just the tithe, but responding to the nudging of the Holy Spirit to give sacrificially. And some of your people who are already at third base and are giving sacrificially will now drive for home plate. And home plate is open-hearted and open-handed generosity, because it's all God's. So call your members this year to take a move, to take new steps, greater steps. Be practical about them going from batter's box to first base, or from first base to second base. And then number 3, repeat this every year. Make talking about giving, about becoming generous, being honest about the money, the currency of the church. You just talk about it and you don't avoid it. And year after year after year, so people see and know that it is the norm for a Christian to give and to become a generous person. Pastor, you need to do this if you want to see growth in your church and health. You need to see your budget rise, and it'll rise somewhere between 6 to 9% a year outside of inflation. Don't settle into the "we don't talk about money around here" attitude. Talk about it well, biblically, and help them be great givers. If you want more help, then reach out to GHC and we'll find ways to coach you in greater ways